Okay.
Shalom, this is Luden Centeno, news from Israel, Jerusalem. Sir, what is your name?
My name is Reuven.
Reuben, what do you think about the so-called Iranian threat, if any?
I believe it is real, and I believe we have to counter it very strongly.
Now, do you think that sanctions over the past 5 years have worked? And if so, what else needs to be done in order to deter Ahmadinejad and his regime in Iran?
I don't think sanctions have worked. That's why it appears that somebody, perhaps Israel, the U.S., or a combination of the two, have been engaging in sabotage against Iran because sanctions have not been working.
Now, what do you think about the Obama administration that has allowed Iran develop these so-called nuclear facilities via the Russians? And why has the American administration not come clean and just put a stop to the building of these nuclear sites with the enriching of uranium?
I believe that Obama is under the illusion that we can reason with the Iranians in the same way we can reason with the French or the British, and they are entirely different species of personalities, and they have cover an entirely different spiritual route than the Europeans.
Now, what can be done to deter? Does military action seem like the right solution, or what other options do we have other than sanctions that have not worked for the last 5 years or so?
I think we have perhaps another 2 or 3 months to impose sanctions so severe that they may provoke the grassroots population to rebel against the regime. That would be preferable to an attack, but if it doesn't happen within 2 or 3 months, then I think we have to attack in some form or other.
Now, as we see what happened in Egypt with the Muslim Brotherhood that the American administration has supported, the same thing happened in Libya. The same thing is happening in Syria. Now, what should be done to bring quietness or peace to this region?
I think one essential thing is to strip the Iranian government, which has been providing support for Hezbollah, for Hamas, for all of the regimes that are taking action against Israel, to strip them of their immune system, so to speak, by attacking not the nuclear facilities, which I think we could only cause minor damage to because they are buried so securely, but we should try to attack the forces that are protecting the regime, the bases of the Revolutionary Guards, for example, so that once they are deprived of their military immune system, so to speak, then the grassroots population, which really does not like this regime, can complete the revolution that they started 2 years ago with the fraudulent elections.
Now, since the Americans left Iraq, we see that the bombing and the terror attacks against the Sunni and the Shiite has grown severely. We know and we understand that Iran is behind this supplying the powers that be within Iran to overthrow the so-called elected government there. Now, if Iran gets its hand on Iraq, what is the world should do, or what America should do, or countries?
I think disabling Iran's Islamic revolutionary government is the key to the entire regional situation in the Middle East. That will also hopefully result in the replacement of the government by a government more willing to negotiate with its neighbors. Because before, under the Shah, even though the Shah himself had problems in terms of the way he was governing, the people did not have the zealous attitude that the current regime has towards their neighbors.
Now that the Americans have left Iraq, Obama is saying that he wants to negotiate with the Taliban, and he was sent a letter by one of the Taliban leaders in Afghanistan. Should the American administration deal directly with the terrorist organizations?
No, I don't think we should be negotiating. We should not be trying to get into a conversation that opens the mouth of the lion that wants to swallow us.
Now we're doing that here in Israel. We're dealing with Abu Mazen and his posse in Ramallah, and they're actually meeting in Jordan, hosted by King Abdullah of Jordan. What do you think about the so-called peace agreement or land for peace with Abu Mazen and his so-called people in his so-called party?
Well, I think it isn't emphasized enough that it only seems to be the Jewish people that believe in the concept of land for peace. If the Arabs believed in it, we could solve the problem. We've had two parties that believed in land for peace, but we only have one party that believes in land for peace.
Yet Abu Mazen continues to support terrorism and continues to glorify these so-called terrorists that were released during the Gilad Shalit deal. And they even had celebrations where he came and he congratulated them for their terror attacks against Israel. Why would a nation like Israel sit down and negotiate with a known supporter of terrorism?
I think we should have, as a prerequisite for continued negotiations, a commitment on the part of the Palestinian Arabs to institute an entirely revised educational system that emphasizes the existence of Israel as a Jewish state and the ability of the two to have mutual respectful relations.
Now, during the Oslo Accords, and we're getting done here, during the Oslo Accords, when we met with the biggest terrorist in Ramallah named Yasser Arafat, we came to some agreements, yet every agreement Israel kept, and Yasser Arafat came back, and he went the opposite. He started training children in terrorist camps to hate and kill Jews. Negotiations they don't work.
No, unless it's by someone who is truly serious about peace. I believe the late King Hussein was serious about peace, but unfortunately we tried to superimpose King Hussein and Anwar Sadat upon Yasser Arafat, and he was a very different personality from those individuals.
Now, the last question is, Mashal, who is the so-called Politburo chief of the terrorist organization in Hamas, just met with King Abdullah of Jordan, and he wanted to return and open back his offices in Jordan, and King Abdullah of Jordan basically told him that they cannot open up the offices back in Jordan. What do you think King Abdullah should do to deter this Mashal, since now he has left Syria and Syria is in jeopardy of losing the Assad regime, and he wants to open his offices back in Jordan? What do you think King Abdullah should do, and if you have any suggestions?
He should keep clearly in mind the example of his father, who took very strong action against the Palestinians in 1970. And I was in Israel on Black September 1970, and I saw what was happening with my own eyes. Heard a Katusha fall very close to the kibbutz that I was on, and King Hussein understood, the late King Hussein understood that strong opposition to their intentions was the only way to survive. He did not negotiate with them. He expelled them and killed them.
And this will be your final say. If you had anything to say to the audience on YouTube about the real truth of the happenings here in Israel, what would you tell our audience on YouTube?
I would say, follow our enemy's actions, don't listen to their words, because their words, often spoken in English, are in contradiction not only to their words in Arabic, but to their actions on the ground.
This is Uriel, LCP, Jerusalem, Israel, Shalom.